Welcome back to T County Classics here on DMG TV2, Time Warner Cable. I'm Laurel Quillen. Thanks for joining us today. And today we get to meet Tim Walton and at least one of his cars. Tell us about the Bel Air behind us.
Well, I bought it when I was like 16 years old and drug it out of a barn in Junate and Hutton. My dad told me I was crazy, but we did it anyhow, and I kept.
Parents like to tell us that, don't they?
Well, I fixed it up and had it all done, and I had it up until like 89, and a friend of mine really wanted it, and he kept pestering me and wanted to give me more money, and finally I thought it was enough, and I made him promise me that if he ever sold it, he'd call me, and 21 years later, he called me, and I sold it in 89 and got it back in 2010, so it's not going to go anywhere again.
He kept his promise. That's beautiful.
He did.
So what sort of shape was it in the first time around when you got it? What did you do to it?
It wasn't bad. There was no motor transmission in it. The interior was so-so. I had a couple broken windows and stuff in it, and it was a salvage yard. I gathered stuff up, and I think I took about 15 or 20 of those things and took parts off them and just kept keeping them, and I've still got a barn full of parts for them, so I just put it together and drove it for a while when I was in school, and then didn't drive it much. And then, like I say, he kept pestering me, and we bought a new car, and I paid for the new car by selling it, so, but I'm glad I got it back.
Served its purpose, but happy that the car is home again. And when you got it back the second time, did you have to do a little restoration work again to it?
Yeah, it was a little bit rough. No broken windows or anything like that, but the motor wasn't running at the time, and the exhaust wasn't on it, and he put stock wheels and tires back on it, and I changed it over. I put disc brakes on. I did a couple things to it, to make it a little bit more drivable now. So it's fun to drive, and it's not perfect as it was, but if somebody opens a door on it, I don't get so upset. So I just drive it.
Fun to drive. That's the important thing, that you enjoy it, and it can be part of your life.
I think I enjoy it more the second time than I did the first time.
Well, that's good. Now, you said you got this the first time around when you were 16, but it wasn't even your first classic car. How old were you when you started buying cars?
I think I started fixing them up around 13. So I fixed up a couple of Mustangs and Chevelles, 3 or 4 Chevelles, and I can't even think of everything. I had a couple old Corvettes, and by the time I was 16, I had enough money I'd go buy what I wanted. So
Now, you got your love of cars, probably, I'm guessing, from your family. Did you inherit that?
No, my dad really wasn't a car guy. I don't know. My grandfather on my mom's side was kind of a car guy, and he gave me 51 MGTs when I was born. He said, "This is your car when you grow up." Well, I still have it. So I guess that all started from his side, and it just grew. And my son, he's the same way, and it might be hereditary.
You never know where it's going to come from.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Now, I've seen you driving around in your Bel Air. What year is it again?
1957.
57 Bel Air wagon. But I don't see you.
It's not a wagon. It is a wagon, but not technically.
I see.
It's a Nomad because of the roof and the slits in the roof and stuff like that, and the back windows. It's different than a wagon. They did make 2-door wagons, but they weren't Nomads.
Now, I don't see you with the Nomad at car shows so much. Not everyone goes to those, I know.
No, I don't go to. I go and walk around them, but I don't sit there all day. I don't want to sit there all day. I'll go visit them. We sponsor some of the ones uptown and First Town Days and stuff like that. But it's not really nice enough to put in a show. But
I don't know about that.
well, I don't think so. I see some of the ones we work on and do in here, and it's kind of like, I'm not that caliber, so
The competition is pretty steep.
it's pretty tough. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for letting us take a look at it, since you're not going to see it at most of the area car shows. We appreciate an inside peek. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim Walton and his Bel Air Nomad. Thank you for joining us today on T County Classics here on Time Warner Cable DMG TV2.
Well, I woke up to the sound of silence and cars We're cutting like knives in a fist fight. And I found you with a tear in your eye, your head in the curtains and heart like the 4th of July.
You swore and said, we are not shining stars. This I know, I never said we are. If you're lost and alone, or you're sinking like a stone, carry on. May your past be the sound of your feet upon the ground. Carry on. Carry on, carry on. We are shining stars. Carry on, carry on. We are who we are.
Myers and Miller Podiatry provides complete foot and ankle care to patients of all ages. The practice was established in 2000 by Dr. Adam Myers and has grown to include Dr. Andy Miller in 2007 and most recently Dr. Jason Backage in 2010. Our core values of respect and honesty are the basis for how we manage our practice, and we have grown by building relationships with our patients in order to better serve their needs. Myers and Miller Podiatry serves Tuscarawas and Holmes County with offices in Dover, Sugar Creek, New Comerstown, and Millersburg. Let's get started building our relationship.
Thanks for joining us today on T-County Classics here on DMG TV2 for Time Warner Cable. I am Laurel Quillen, and I am here with Jim and Carol Vickers. Thank you so much for joining us today with your beautiful MG. Tell us about it.
Oh, thank you very much for inviting us to have the show our MG. It's a 1979 MG Midget. It has a 1500 cc engine, so it's not a power pack unit, but it's sure fun to drive.
And it looks beautiful. I know you won an award at the 2015 Denison Railroad Festival.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's my first one this year. And
Really?
Hopefully we can do more.
The year is young, right? The season is young. So how long have you had the MG? How did it come into your hands?
We bought this in 1991, right, Carol?
January of '92.
She remembers.
And believe it or not, we got this at a dealership. I saw this car advertised in the paper, and I thought, I gotta go down and look at this car, because at that time I had a 72 MG Midget. And I went down and looked at it, I said, wow, this thing is great. And and I looked at it every weekend till January. And they said, we'd like to sell you this car. If not, we're gonna put it away for the winter. I said, well, what's the deal? And we did, and here we go.
Fantastic. Now, did you do anything to it? Did the dealership pretty much have it ready to go, or did you make some changes?
I didn't make any changes to that. When we first got it, had original tires on it. Original interior. One thing we changed was the interior because it was bleached out. So we changed that. And there's some parts we had to change on the engine last summer. We had to change an intake manifold that cracked, and I guess that's from old age. I don't know. And then we had to change. We put a different air cleaner on. So that and also I changed the tires over the year. So that's about it. Yeah. So I'd say it's 75% original.
Very nice, and it is beautiful. Now, with the 70s MG that you mentioned that you had, 72, do you still have that?
No, we sold. When I got this, I sold that, and I said, this is it. This is the one.
Now, were you interested in this one because you already had an MG, so you fell in love with them?
Well, I kind of fell in love with them. When I was in grade school, my music teacher drove an MG to school every day. I said, well, maybe someday I can have one of these, And it must have stuck in my brain. So when I saw this 72, I said, I'm going to try this restoring thing. This 72 was in kind of bad shape. I mean, it took a lot of panels and different things. But when I saw this, I said, we can drive this and enjoy it.
Yes, so, that's for you, right?
Right. And also, it took unleaded gas. No additives needed for lead or anything like that. So, and it was perfect. It worked out. So.
Do you find it easier to get parts nowadays with the internet, computer?
Yeah, and also Victoria British out of Kansas, and also Moss Motors out of California. You can get just about any part you need. Matter of fact, when that intake manifold broke last summer, they don't make those anymore. I couldn't get that new, but he did have there was a good, in Oregon, there was I'll say a scrap yard, but it's a nice scrap yard, and that's where I got that part from. Moss Motors hooked me up for that, so it worked.
Very nice. So you think you have some more car shows coming up this season that you'll attend?
Yeah, I think Newcomers Down's coming up, Saturday? If it's not raining, well, maybe we'll give that a shot. We like the British car shows in Cleveland. That's all British shows. They're a neat show, and we got some of them come up at Ursuline College. There's one in Ursuline. There's one at Shaker Square in Cleveland. That's a nice car show. So it's fun. But we like the other shows too. We just like any car show. So
it's always a good time.
Just getting out and meeting the people and talking about their car, and no matter what kind of car you have. But on the British, I mean, you see things that, that wow, this is neat.
Do you have a dream NG, or this is your baby? You found her.
This is it. This is right here. And my daughter said maybe, I won't say what she said, but I will say. I mean, she said maybe we get him cremated and put his ashes in the ashtray.
There you go.
When he passed away, but because I was kidding her, I said when I pass away, I want the car at the funeral home sitting out front on display, but I was just kind of kidding about that. So hopefully she's kidding about the other. So.
Well, we'll see. I guess she maybe will be the one to decide how that turns out. Carol, and it was nice to meet you at the Denison Railroad Festival car show, and I've seen you at some of the other car shows. You're a good wife to come along, or are you really interested?
I make a one-time run through to see the paint jobs and the interiors, and then I bring a book. No,
a survival kit, right?
It's fun. We've met a lot of nice people going to the car shows.
So what did you think when he came home with the first MG? Was it discussed and planned, or did he surprise you with that one day?
The first one was in pretty bad shape, but I figured he'd put it together sometime, and then when he saw one that didn't require all the work, he did a switch, but that's okay.
Well, we hope to see you both at many more car shows to come, and we thank you so much for being part of our show on T County Classics here on DMG TV2 on Time Warner Cable.
I'm here every day to review patient care and progress notes, and also discuss with the therapist, even after hours, what our goals are for the following day.
Our patients are able to stay within the community, be close to their family and friends, which is a big part of the rehab process.
What you get to see then is the actual progress taking place in a smaller time frame, so it's very visible and very real. It's not just something in the future. You're actually seeing it while it's happening.
Union Hospital, quality care close to home.
Hi, I'm TV2 Sports Talk's Bill Morgan. Some people are outstanding at playing sports, and then there's me. While we at TV2 Sports Talk may have never been All-State on the field, we are Tuscarawas County's MVP when it comes to local television sports talk and play-by-play. Catch TV2 Sports Talk Wednesday nights at 7 and Friday afternoons at 5 on DMG Channel 2.
Hi there, and welcome back to T County Classics here on DMG TV2. I'm your host, Laurel Quillen. Joining me today is Roger Ramsey, the man who has put together this fabulous collection known as the American Gas Pump Heaven Museum in downtown Dover. Thank you so much for making some time for us today, Roger.
Thanks for coming.
As you can hear, we are outdoors, but this is only part of what's here. We'll get to the indoors later. Right now, we're standing in front of a fire truck. Roger, tell me about this fire truck.
This fire truck we recently obtained, and it's a 1950 Ford. It only has 9,000 miles on it, and we're thinking about putting a decal of some kind on it here. It still runs, has most all the accoutrements that would have been at the fire truck at that time, plus the siren works. Don't dare turn that siren on, I don't think. But I like the fact that we have the fire truck. We have another 56 Ford in the building here, and we have an early gas delivery wagon on the side of the building, which you may see.
So tell us about the gas delivery wagon. What year is that?
It's 1930s, and it has turrets on top where they had different fuel they would deliver to the gas stations, and it still runs. It's also a Ford, and it's really neat. We put decals on it, and who knows if it still deliver gasoline if you wanted to today.
Now, did you have restoration work done to these, or are they pretty much in the state?
Pretty much the way it was when I got it. And I had a fellow that was a chief down at Cambridge, was here earlier this week, and he said this was used for that, and we hooked the hose up to there, and he turned some things. He knew all about it.
He gave you a tour of the vehicle.
A tour of the vehicle, yeah. Kind of interesting.
Well, this is a fantastic collection, not just the vehicles, but there's more inside as well. Of course, it's called the American Gas Pump Heaven Museum, so you do have gas pumps and things like that.
Yeah, we try to maintain about 50 plus gas pumps at all times, and they're all restored. I just obtained 22 unrestored, so got my work cut out for me.
But there's a great deal more than that inside, really, and even outside the building. How did you come to collect all these wonderful things?
Well, I always liked old cars, and I decided to have one gas pump to go with the old car, and I liked that. And I thought, maybe I'll have two gas pumps. Well, suddenly I have 50, 60.
They got lonely, so.
But I like most everything that's collectible and reminds you of the times of the 40s, 50s, 60s when we were growing up, and things were a little bit different back then.
I noticed indoors you have not only the vehicle memorabilia, the gas pumps, but old telephones, games, toys, radios, you name it.
I like everything. It seems we have a lot of, Roy Rogers is my hero, so he's in there. And we just enjoy a lot of the cowboy items. And we have a list for ladies who look for items in the museum. There are about 20 items. So we have fun with that too. It makes it interesting for everybody.
It is. It's a fantastic collection. And tell us about some of the businesses, or I should say former businesses, represented outdoors here.
Well, over here to your left, we have former signs that were Goshen Dairy, and also Bexley Theater, which was uptown Dover. We have Dover Hardware, which was right across the river where we're located, that sold one nut or bolt at a time. You could spend 10 cents or $1. They're gone. And on the end, we have the men's clothing store, which was on Tuscarawas Avenue, which is where we are. So 4 former businesses that people familiar with Dover would remember. And then on the building, we have 2 murals that depict the way things were in the 1940s and 50s. Soda fountain. Earlier times we had a lot of lubrication and washing Sinclair stations in this area. And then we have a small replica of a Dover Sohio station, which I hate that Sohio went away. BP bought them out. Of course, then they had to spill in the Gulf. But so far I've gotten away with having Dover Sohio, and I like to show that to people with a lot of Sohio items from the past.
You mentioned Roy Rogers and some of the all kinds of memorabilia. You also have a lovely tribute to some famous Ohioans.
Yeah, we do. We have Clark Gable in there. We show a lot of him. A fellow from Steubenville we play, which I played for you. And we like to tie a lot of it locally so people would remember Ohio, as well as the picture I showed you where movie stars all from Ohio. We have the first man on the moon from Ohio, which I have a picture of that and a little display from that, and also from Muskingum County, the fellow who is an astronaut learned to fly at New Philly. So we do a little bit of everything. I like everything.
Well, I like it too. You have a fantastic collection here. Now, anyone can pretty much drive into the parking lot, look around and see what's here. To get inside, to get a closer look at some gems, how do they get a hold of you to schedule that?
Well, I'm down here 2 or 3 times a day, but I decided, kind of like the Radio and TV Museum north of us, we do it by appointment. And I, for example, right before you guys came, I had an appointment with 2 people from out of town, and we'll give bus tours. I may have 70 people. So we schedule the time and generally allow an hour and a half, 2 hours for the tour. And it's worked out pretty well. But as I say, I'm down here maybe 2 or 3 times a day. People will just stop in. And I want to keep it like that rather than tie myself down here 8 hours a day, I guess.
Well, Roger Ramsey, thank you so much for having us here at the American Gas Pump Heaven Museum in downtown Dover. This is Laurel Quillen for T County Classics on DMG TV2.
I was in elementary school when you decide, oh, I want to be a teacher when I grow up.
When I came in as a junior, my very first day, I was a very quiet, shy girl.
I wasn't sure where I wanted to be or what I was going to do. And I wanted to learn a trade that I could make maximum money and something that I was in control of my own destiny. When I saw the masonry program, I really fell in love with it. Something that was outside, hands-on. It was hard work. It really fit my style.
Instead of learning from a textbook, you get the opportunity to actually learn on the job, hands-on, which is great.
It's not just someone behind the desk, but it's someone that actually goes out and does the work. They actually turn the wrenches, or they actually go out and they work in construction. And it opens the doors up for the student to allow them some real-world experiences they might not have if they didn't take that class.
What was great with our class is that, there were 18 of us. We all had different backgrounds, came from different environments.
We were a team. We all worked independently. However, we worked with each other.
And we all just kind of were encouragement to each other and gave each other ideas and became a family in our lab.
It really helped me to open up as a person and really gave me the confidence I needed to be successful in my career today.
I was an athlete at the homeschool. We were still involved with our homeschool activities, our pep rallies, and all the activities that take place at the homeschool. We were not shut out or alienated.
You have the opportunity, here at Buckeye, you get involved with a club, you learn some leadership skills, and really share that leadership out in the community.
And you never know in which way you're going to use it and how it'll open up doors for you.
A lot of people were saying, oh, if you go to Buckeye, you can't go to college. Well, I'm sitting here in front of you working on my master's degree, so that's not true.
Use the skills you're learning as your work ethic. There's absolutely no limits.
WJER and TV2 would like to introduce you to a new website, WJERTV2.com, where you can watch exciting high school football, soccer, and volleyball replays from TV2 Sports on your home computer, smartphone, or tablet. Also watch the latest episodes of TV2's original programming, Sports Talk, The Garden Girl, The Not So Shy Chef, Off the Record, and Medical Minutes, as well as catch up on local community news and search for local businesses. So make sure to check out the new WJERTV2.com community website where everything's local.
Welcome into T County Classics. I'm Laurel Quillen. Thanks. I'm joined today by Mr. Mason. Thank you so much for making some time for us today.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Congratulations on your win at the Strasburg Corn Fest 2015. One of those cars is here.
Yes, this is it. The 60 Corvette, yes.
Tell us a little bit about it.
This car is 1960. My wife and I bought this in '69. This was our second car. She worked as a nurse at the hospital, and she at midnights, and she drove it to work midnights at Union Hospital. And from there, I had it redone one time by myself. Didn't turn out real good, so about 20 years later, we tore it all apart and redid it again. And that's what you see now is the second time through it.
Well, it looks absolutely wonderful. And you have just a few other cars here for us to look at today, too. Tell us about those.
Okay, this is a 1936 Chevy here, the yellow car. That car came from, forget the gentleman's name, but anyhow, he is in a nursing home now, and he was called for an appraisal, and two friends of mine went up to appraise the car, and called me up, and I went up to see him and bought the car. So that's been here about 3 weeks. We're going to do pretty extensive restoring on that car.
But it's in pretty nice shape as it is, really. For the age of the vehicle, looks pretty good.
1936, it's in really nice shape. And although you don't see it on the other side, the fender's dinged in, so we're going to have to redo that.
One of the small details on that car, I was surprised to see there's a little clock built into the beveled mirror.
Yes, it's really unique. That car actually was produced in Brazil by Chevrolet. They stopped making the Roadster in the United States in 36, or 35, I'm sorry. And in 36, Brazil kept it and ran the production line. So that car's been shipped here from, actually it was in Argentina, and came up to St. Louis, and St. Louis over to Cleveland, and that's where I bought it, in Cleveland. So
nice. Very nice, it is. And tell us about the third.
The third car actually is a 1930 Ford Coupe. It's a Henry body, and that's in the industry. That means it's an original body. Okay, so we converted it to, so I call it a 30, 31, 32, because it's got pieces from each one of the years. And it's a street rod.
An early hybrid, if you will.
Early hybrid. And in fact, I was just saying to Laurel that when you folks are done here, we're going to take it down to Newcomerstown and have the interior put in it. So it's going to be a nice coupe.
So it's still getting just a little bit more love to bring it up to your standard of perfection.
Yeah, one thing I really like is I like to have them done well, when the cars are done. So it'll be a nice car.
They look beautiful. Seems to be worth it. Now, earlier we were talking a little bit about your interest in cars, and you said you got your first car when you were 14. Is that what you said?
I was 14. My brother had a friend that was going to haul his car to the junkyard. It was a 1950 Ford, and I talked my dad into letting me have it. And I pulled the engine out of it, rebuilt the engine. The body, we decided it was too bad a shape, so we towed it to the junkyard, and then I sold the motor to a friend of mine, Johnny Beeler, who ran it in a 1940 Ford. So that was my first real encounter with an automobile.
Now, did you do all of that work when you were 14, or was that sort of years down the road as you had it for a while?
I did it pretty well. The engine I rebuilt, I was 14 when I could finish that engine, and so that's where I did tinker around with lawnmower engines and things before that, but really the first automobile engine that was that Ford.
Was that the first spark of your love for cars, or did you get that from your dad? Where'd that come from?
Well, this is kind of funny, but my father every year would build another car. And then, what he would do is he would buy a car that was wrecked, that was new, rolled over or whatever, and he did it at Johnny Keller's garage in Cherry Alley in Dover. And that's how so we always had a car that was never more than a couple years old because of the way he built the cars. So I think that was kind of probably the start of it all. And then I guess I don't ever remember not having toy cars on the mantle or pretending they were driving them around in the neighborhood. So.
On Facebook, there was a photo going around with a photograph of a little boy standing in the store looking at all these Hot Wheels cars, and it said, man's most expensive hobby starts with 97 cents.
He's right, and that's me. That's what I did. I started with those little small back match-sized cars, and I wore the wheels off of them, so pretending that I was driving them around. So I've always enjoyed cars.
Well, you've taken very good care of these. Certainly, they're beautiful, and thank you so much for sharing them with us today.
You're welcome, Laurel. Thanks for having me.
All right, Mr. John Mason, thank you for joining us today on T-County Classics here on DMG TV2 on Time Warner Cable.